7:51 here, Big 550 KTRS. Here's a stat for you. Last year, municipal courts in St. Louis County generated more than $52 million. It was thrust onto the scene after the Ferguson incident. Eric Schmitt, who is a Missouri state senator, joins us now. Eric Schmitt, you were the person who was behind this. You pushed it through. First of all, congratulations on the governor signing this bill yesterday.
Thank you, McGraw.
What are your thoughts as you watched him sign it?
It was it really was a great day. It was. I'm proud of the fact that there was a really broad and diverse coalition of people who came together. People from, there were black clergy, law enforcement, conservatives, liberals, and everything in between. Sort of really galvanized behind this idea. That stat you mentioned is remarkable. There are 500,000 outstanding warrants in St. Louis County, where there's 1 million people. You have 14 municipalities where it's the single biggest source of income, traffic tickets and fines. St. Anne went from writing 1,000 tickets to 9,000 tickets when the mall closed. I mean, you started looking at the data, and it just screamed for reform. And that's what led us. And so, and at the heart of it was this breakdown of trust between people in their government and people in their courts. And the stakes couldn't be higher than try to fix something like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why you run for office, so that if there is a problem, and certainly something in your own backyard, that you're in a position to do something to help. And that's what motivated me. And I think this is sweeping reform. I mean, this is the most significant municipal reform bill in the history of our state. It goes from lowering those caps that a city can get from traffic tickets and fines in St. Louis County from 30%, which wasn't even enforced, to 12.5% now. And if you don't remit that excess in 60 days, disincorporation's on the ballot. It also says you have to have a balanced budget. You have to be audited once a year. You have to have an accredited police force. There's only 14 accredited police forces out of 61 in St. Louis County. That needs to be done in 6 years. You have to have open access to the courts. You can't disallow kids in the court. You have to be able to see a judge within 48 or 72 hours. You can't be thrown in jail just simply for owing a fine on having a taillight out. So you start going through this bill, the impact of this is going to be felt for years to come, and it's a very important thing to do.
Eric Schmitt, our guest. When does this bill take effect?
August 28th. So it'll be interesting, actually. I had former police chief Tim Fitch was at the gathering yesterday, and he said, watch out for cities like St. Anne as they try to ratchet this up before, it really starts to go into effect for their budgets. But what's already happening is cities are already starting to plan for it. They're already, starting to look into next year's budget. They know they can't have more than this amount in their budgets, and that's a good thing, because what had been happening before, and all you needed to know about this debate was there were cities actually planning in their budget for more money from traffic tickets and fines the next year, and that, you just call it what it is. It's about revenue generation. That's what it was.
Well, Tim Finch wasn't joking, because yesterday on the ride home, I said this earlier on the show, no joke, I saw about 9 different police cruisers either pulling people over or with their speed guns looking for people to pull over. Let me ask you this question, though. Recently, the Post-Dispatch had a couple of stories about towns that were suspending licenses and finding people for suspended license in which they had no jurisdiction to do as a way to generate revenue. What stops cities from finding people for having dirty gutters and or having a truck parked on the side of the road or whatever else? What's to stop cities from just changing traffic fines into other types of fines?
No, listen, it's something that we're going to have to take a look at and make sure that that's not happening. I don't think that's widespread right now, but I'm certainly open to more reform. I mean, one of the things that's going on with a lot of groups, the Ferguson Commission's talking about, other people are talking about, is what are some other things that we can do? And I'm certainly open to that. I think that this, at the heart of it, sends a signal that there needs to be a kind of a culture change. And that's why when you start talking about things like accredited police departments, when you have law enforcement standing next to you making that call, I think that's meaningful, and so there might be more for us to do. I am happy to take a look at it and help where I can, but you don't want revenue to be the driving force for whether it's code enforcement officers or police officers to be revenue agents. And that's what's happening, sadly, in way too many municipalities. But, we sort of sent the signal out yesterday. I said, those cities, beware, because we're going to continue to take a look at this. And at the heart of it is an individual's right to sort of pursue what they want in life. And they shouldn't have to worry about, going from their house to work along St. Charles Rock Road with the fear that one of these money-hungry, revenue-generating machines is out to get them. And that's wrong. And that should be, and it's antithetical to this country. Debtor prisons, which we have under our noses, are antithetical to this country, and that's why this reform is so meaningful.
One, you should have taken care of red light cameras, but that's for another day. Better Together, you mentioned them, and you referenced this accreditation. Better Together is an organization. They did a study and told us that 25% of St. Louis County is covered by accredited police departments. That means 75% aren't. In this bill, you're saying those towns that have police departments that are not accredited have to either accredit their own police department or find a police department that is accredited to service that area.
That's exactly right. And we've given them 3 years on all these other standards, making sure they have a balanced budget, making sure they have adequate insurance. Remember, all the things that you would just assume a municipality would have, that many don't. They have to do that now. And that's where you've got this disincorporation hammer on the back end now for all of this, which is significant. But yeah, for accreditation, it takes about 5 to 6 years to be fully accredited. So we're giving those municipalities time to get accredited police departments or look elsewhere. St. Louis County is an internationally accredited police force. They really are. And so there are other options. There are, you can contract with another municipality with an accredited police department. So there are other things that these municipalities can do. But the days of having, a part-time police officer, like in St. Anne, what's been uncovered, Channel 4 had a report. There's 7 part-time police officers competing for a full-time position, pulling people over on traffic tickets all day long.
Right.
I mean, that's wrong. So those days are going to be gone. That's why the impact of this is going to be felt over a series of years.
Eric Schmitt, we got to run. How's your campaign for treasurer, is it?
Yeah, it's going great. I'm getting around the state. I'm heading to, Southwest Missouri next week, but things are good. We're off to a great start. Yeah, I keep saying that 2016 is the election, but that's next year. So it's going well.
Eric Schmitt, thank you very much. Congrats on the bill. Tim Weiland, St. Louis Plaza Company Traffic Center.